Alright, this is going to be a tutorial on how to get completely new full body models into PES19 and PES21. Now, this one's going to be on the longer side again, because just by default full body models are more complex and more time consuming than just head models. And also, just like the head model tutorial where it was default shading and then anime shading and then how to do outlines and so on, this one's going to be I'm basically going to be doing the same model twice, and that's because what if your model does not have a skeleton, basically. But we're going to get to that part when we actually start dealing with the skeleton. And as usual, there is a tutorial on the wiki page, and the thing we need from here is the PES19 FBM base model pack. I'm going to be using this one, and you should as well. It's got the medical staff model, which we're going to be using for scaling, positioning, weight transferring, and exporting, so use that. I'm just going to get into Blender. Again, going to be a long one, so I'm going to try my best to be fast. And import our source model, which is the same that I used for the head model tutorial, but this time the good parts of this model will hopefully be obvious. So there's stuff like it has a really good skeleton, and it's just a well-made model in general because it's an official MMT. So it's really nice to make a tutorial with. But the starting step is going to be the same as for the head models. I'm going to separate it into individual pieces. Not because I want to delete anything this time, but I do still want to combine all the textures into a single atlas, and for that purpose, I need to separate the model into pieces and then just, again, combine all the pieces that use the same texture together. What did I select? Ah, there we go. Should be all combined. Find the skeleton so there's no in the way. And find the textures and combine them together. I forgot to clean up from my previous attempt, but we'll ignore that and we'll redo the texture just so that it's on video. And while I'm working on the texture, I forgot to mention at the start that for this one, I'm going to expect a little bit of Blender knowledge. I'm not going to be explaining every single step that happens, such as combining the textures into one single atlas. You can just see what I'm doing, and you should be able to tell what's going on. But I am going to explain stuff that is going to be different, such as body.dds instead of head.dds. But anything that would be unique to full body models, or might be something that people who have only worked on head models and haven't done full bodies or anything like that before would not know about Blender. That's the kind of stuff I'm going to explain more in depth, and then I'm going to gloss over all of the basics that people should know already when they're trying to move on to full body models. Not new image, open image. This one has a much nicer lineup compared to the head models one. Also, just in case people are wondering, like, why do I open image every time instead of going here? Most of the time, not what I wanted to. Most of the time, the models I'm working with have about 1 million textures cluttering that list, so it's actually faster most of the time for me to find what I'm looking for if I just find it in my file system instead of trying to scroll through the drop-down. But everything's been combined, so now we get to move to the actual full body part. Again, done this before, but FBM template, go to shaded and import the medical stuff. This is going to be from the shaded folder because it's for, this one's going to be used for scaling and so on. Now, MMD quirk alert. I'm going to select this thing here. It's the parent of the entire thing. And I'm going to have to scale off of that so that he also scales the skeleton and so on. I'm actually going to hide the skeleton so that I can see a little bit better. And here's kind of when it becomes obvious that anime models specifically have a little bit of a problem. Female body proportions, trying to match them into the male PES medical stuff. So the arms are quite short compared to where we want them. And the legs are not as spread apart as they should be. The legs are going to be easy to fix. The arms, we're going to have to stretch them out a little bit. But just for the positioning and scaling step before we get into posing, the important things to do are make sure that the feet are off the ground so that they match the elevation of the PES model. And then kind of just try to align the shoulders with the PES medical staff. So I think that's about where they should be. All right. Happy with the scaling and positioning, so we can move on to posing, aka fixing the arms and the legs. Now, divergence point. This model does have a skeleton. I want to do this 2 times because, especially if you're working on Western models that are not like officially released by the game developer and so on, chances are your model might not have a skeleton. Or if it does have a skeleton, the skeleton might be bad. So I also want to showcase how to do the posing and all of that without using a skeleton. But I'm going to start with using the skeleton, since the model comes with that. And I do think that nowadays more models are going to have the skeleton and not have it. But if your model does not have a skeleton, there should be a timestamp or something to take you to the part in the future where I'm going to be posing without a skeleton. But I'm going to get started here. First step when working with a model with a skeleton, especially with the 4cc blender setup and all of that, is go to the modifiers tab and make sure that your model has an armature and it's using its own skeleton. And now we can go to pose mode and start posing. I think that's the shoulder. You can see that the angle and all of that of the arms are already good, but the problem is the scaling. The wrist should be here instead of here. Now, for this one, I'm not going to be talking about hands. Hands, custom moving hands, that is, are a completely different topic. Our model's going to have karate hands, but just in case you ever want to upgrade your model to have actual moving hands, might as well have the hands and wrist and so on positioned so that they will work later on if you do go and get hands. So I'm going to scale. This is it's always unfortunate. I'm going to scale the shoulder so that the wrist somewhat aligns with the PES model. And then I'm going to just rotate the rest of the arm to match the shape of the PES medical staff. All right, that's about right. Now, if I hide the medical staff and if I hide the skeleton, and I hide the PES skeleton, you can see that the The proportions are slightly ridiculous. Like, the arms are way too long for this model. That is somewhat fixable in PES. You can tweak the physique sliders. You can make the arm length and arm thickness and so on -7, or just negative in general to try and balance that out. But for proper movements for our model, we need to do this. We need to have the model match the PES medical staff as closely as possible. So I'm going to unhide everything, and I'm going to work on the other arm if it selects the skeleton. There we go. Find the shoulder. Do the scale. And then just tweak the rest so that it lines up with the wrist. I'm not spending too much time on positioning and all of that, just because this is a tutorial. Like, when we get the model into PES, we'll be able to see how it moves, and we'll be able to see which parts of the model we need to fix. The important part is getting it into PES so that we can see how it behaves. I'm somewhat happy with the arms, so I'm going to move on to the legs. And doing legs after the arms is what I prefer, because legs, after struggling with the arms, the legs are just select like the thigh or the hip or whatever, and rotate along Y. That's it. Select, rotate Y. Boom. The legs are posed. So, our model has been posed. It matches the PES medical staff somewhat. Like, you're never going to have a female model that matches the medical staff 1-to-1. You're going to have to get creative with weight painting, or you're going to have to use one of the existing really well-made custom female bodies as a reference. But I'm happy with this for tutorial purposes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the armature. I'm going to press Alt-P to clear, but clear and keep transformation. And then, for good measure, because this obstructs so much, let's just delete the skeleton. So what we need to do now is we need to make sure that our model moves correctly in PES. And there's two ways about this. My preferred way is going to this list here, the vertex groups, pressing the downwards arrow, remove unused vertex groups, and then go to weight paint mode and wireframe mode, and just scroll through this entire list and try to find the equivalents of all of these parts in the PES medical staff or the PES skeleton, and just renaming the vertex groups. The benefit of this, it's more time consuming by far than just transferring weights and then fixing whatever is wrong. But the benefit is you get to keep the weights that the model had by default. And again, this is a professionally made model for a video game. So I trust the weight painting for this one to be fantastic. I'm still kind of debating. My last attempt of recording this kind of died here. But I think the weights are still simple enough that I could do this way. Yeah, whatever. I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to swap to my medical staff. Do the same thing here. Go to weight paint mode, wireframe, all of that good stuff. This is going to be my reference. So I'm going to show this for just a little bit. This one, for example, it's in the stomach area and so on. I already know this is SK_belly, but just for show, this is in the stomach area. So I will go to the medical staff. I will find what matches that in the PES medical staff model. And turns out it's sk_belly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to rename this to be sk_belly. Next up is this one. It's red up here. I know that's sk_chest, but if I went here, it matches up with sk_chest. So I'm going to go here, sk_chest. And so on and so forth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this window to my other screen so that it can act as a reference. And I'm going to go down this list of vertex groups and just going to keep on renaming them. So dsk_hip, that's sk neck. And that's sk head. I think that is shoulder. I'm going to confirm on the medical stuff. It's either shoulder or clavicle. The medical stuff does not have shoulders. Below that then. Okay, I'm going to call that shoulder. I'm going to call this one clavicle because it extends to the back as well. So that is going to be then dsk clavicle. Wow. Clavicle right. And then this one would be sk shoulder. Again, it's a bit unfortunate that you can't exactly see what's going on my other screen, but I guarantee you I'm not pulling this out of my head, not all of it. Like head and neck and chest and so on are going to be obvious, but the arms are split into so many bones that it's going to be difficult. Going to be difficult finding some of them. I know this is elbow. I need to confirm to see if the elbow is sk or dsk. dsk. So this is going to be dsk elbow right. I think this is wrist. And I once again need to confirm that wrist is dsk. And this is under the elbow. So that's going to be all forearm. And then what's above the elbow, starting here, is going to be all upper arm. So I'm going to call this one. It's going to be sk upper arm right. And then what's next to it? This one. This one's going to be, I want to join this vertex group to sk upper arm right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have sk upper arm right selected. Try my best to see what the moon runes say and go to modifiers and add a vertex weight mix. I will, vertex group A is the one that will be receiving the weights, and then this one's going to be giving the weights. I believe it was this one. Yes. So add all. And what this does, what vertex weight mix with settings all does, is it takes all of the weights in this group and it adds them to this group, which is what we want. I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to go ahead and delete this one and then normalize all. Not normalize all. I'm going to delete that. I completely forgot that these exist. Delete these. That's MMD stuff. Go back up here. And now, normalize all. I'm going to call this one then dsk upper arm right. And join this one to the other one. So mix DSK this time, and that was R, 2.R, I believe. Yes. Add all, apply, and delete the one we just transferred over. This one then is going to be SK forearm right, and this is going to be what did I call wrist? Okay, this one's going to be actually DSK forearm right, and this one is going to be SK hand right. I'm going to do that way. So I'm going to join this one to SK forearm. Again, try to see what the moon runes say. Weight mix, SK forearm, and then 2.R, and it was this one. Add all, and delete this, and normalize that. Then this one's going into the DSK forearm. So once again, mix DSK forearm. That was 3.R. Add all, apply. Delete this one and normalize. And we can move on to the other arm. As I try to remember, this would have been clavicle. And this would have been shoulder. Into SK upper arm. And DSK upper arm. And then this one's going to be part of SK because it's closer to it. So 3L can be part of SK. Mix SK upper arm left this time. And 3.R, 3.L rather. And this one, add all, apply, and delete, and normalize. Same here. The 2.L is going to be going to DSK upper arm. This one, I believe. Add all, yep. Delete and normalize. This was elbow. This I decided was DSK forearm. And this would have been SK forearm. And 2L goes to SK forearm. Was it this? No, it was the other one. It was this. Add all, apply. Delete 2L and normalize. And then this one would go to DSK forearm, so 3L. And this was SK hand. And where have we moved now? That's the eye. So what I can do here then is select both of these, delete their groups, find SK head and press assign and then normalize all. And now they're part of the head. keep on going. All right, that's simple enough. That is SK thigh right. The leg. That's a foot. And that's a toe. And then, I believe this is when we get to the fun stuff. Ah, this is, What is this a part of? Let me see what's nearby. Nothing really. Oh, and this is, yeah, gonna have to improvise a little bit here. This is sometimes what you have to do to try and preserve all of the weights. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the entirety of this cape thing and really try and get the entirety of it. Was that all? I think that was all. Just to confirm, some of this is going to be painted to the... Well, you'd imagine somebody would be painted to the arms. Yeah. I'm going to take all of this and I'm going to paint it to SK chest. Normalize all, and then what I can do is remove... I'm going to scroll down here to showcase. Remove unused vertex groups, and boom. A whole bunch of them should be gone. You need to do the same thing for this bit here. Attach to SK chest. And then these buttons here. Assign to SK chest. Again, delete unused. This is all hair. So again, what I can do here is I know that this is going to be hair. So I can select all of this because the hair is going to be moving with the head anyway. And then I know that this is the face and all of the parts of the face. So I can select that as well. And then just go find sk_head and assign all of that here. Normalize all and delete, or rather remove unused. Same thing here. Again, static hands, karate hands for this model. So what I can do, select the entire hand and just assign it to SK hand left. Assign, normalize all, do the same for the other one. But I select the entire hand, make sure that I get the entire hand, and assign this to the right hand. Normalize all and delete unused groups. And what do we have remaining? We've got this little thing. What's the closest to it? I think this one's going to be moving with the hip. You can see the hip's close to it. So I'm just going to call that hip. Just make sure that like nothing else moves it here. Select all of that. Oh wow, that extends far. This is going to be a bit more difficult. Yeah, I can take the entirety of this belt at least. Cut it off about here. And about here. Don't want to touch that at all. And then similarly, I'm just going to assign that to hip already. Normalize all. I didn't actually get the top, so I need to do that again. Grab all of this. What I'm doing here is I'm cutting off the bit I want to select by just hiding the parts that are connected to it, and then I can select and use Control L for select linked, and that's going to get most of it. I can assign that to hip as well, normalize all, return back to working on this. Yeah, I do want to select all of this now. And then what I want to do is I want to hit Control I to invert the selection so that I can separate this and work on it a bit more peacefully. And then just select again the part that I want to move with the hip. Oh, it didn't get all. Let's try that again. Grab the entire thing, including this bit here. And this bit. And I believe that's all. Then hide everything else. And I should be selecting from about here. Select everything I want to paint fully to the hip. And then assign it to the hip and normalize all. And then finally, I need to find out where this thing lives. Oh, it's so spread out. Okay, this is the first part that is not painted fully. Okay, I take back all I said. I hate this model. Okay, it's probably best to just do it this way. Select everything around it to isolate it, and then just make it so it's easier to select. Right, here we go. So from here is where it should start being fully to hip. Assign to hip. Normalize all. Remove unused. And then there's these little bits over here that I will select. Assign to hip. Normalize all. Remove unused. And then the tits can just be weight mixed into chest. So the 2L and 2R. So in here I'll Just mix them to the chest. Delete the groups. Normalize all. And after all of that trouble, we have done our very best to get the original weights from our model into a PES-compatible format. So, we've posed our model, and we've got weights on our model. This should be enough to make it work in PES. So we can start the exporting process. I'm going to swap to object mode. I'm going to copy and move my secondary window back here. Object mode. I'm going to drag this thing off to the side. Paste our model. No need to delete the vertex groups this time because of all of the time and effort we spent on making them PES compatible. But I am going to delete all of the materials and then join to our medical staff. Delete vertices. And then, again, this would be ready to export right about now. But there's a couple tweaks to be done. One of them being that this is an anime model, so I'm going to set it to constant and give it anti-blur. I'm going to leave the texture file name as body.dds. I don't want it to cast a shadow. And then, while we're here, I might as well give this thing an outline in one fell swoop. Cover all the bases so that we can move on to the second iteration of working on this model. So, outlining should be pretty straightforward. But just in case, we need a reminder. Duplicate with Shift-D, drop in place with right-click, then pattern with Alt-S, type in 0.003 for the scaling, and then flip the normals with Control-Shift-N. Keep Control-L-ing in the wrong spot. Get rid of all of this as well. The leftover bit here somewhere. That one, delete that. And another one here. That's the wrong one, delete that. And then just have a look and see if there's any other problematic parts. There really shouldn't be, but I can see them better when I actually colored the outline black and see it in Blender. So I'm going to do that. Backface culling to see what's happening, and then texture mode. Yeah, that looks good. So, there's something weird going on with the eyes. Alright, that's not good. Go back a little bit. Oh, it's probably this part. Ah, it's this. Okay. I'm gonna get rid of this this part of the face around the eyes as well, so that the eyes don't look weird. That's another one of those things that nobody's probably going to notice in gameplay, but since it's a full body model, I want to do all I can just in case this one ends up scoring like 7 goals in a game and they get all of the face close-ups. I'm box selecting just in case there's like several faces stacked on top of each other, and box select will catch them all. Alright, I think that'll look better. Yep, much better. Oh wait, never mind. I completely forgot that I need to I need to make it black so that it's an outline. Yeah, I'm gonna call that good. So just create an individual material for our outline and have it be a blin. And with that, I'm just going to check that there's no vertex colors. And with that, we're good. I'm going to export this over here as boots.fmdl. It's going to take a second because this is a bit of a heavier model. And then go here, grab body and boots both, move them here. I actually cannot remember what the boots IDs are going to be. So I'm gonna bullshit up a number here. It'll be K9998. Move body.dds and boots.fmdl here, and then from the FBM template, and shadeless this time, grab a, actually it doesn't matter. Anyway, just grab the XML, the SKL, and don't even need those two. Then, that's not enough. We also need to get rid of the default PES head. So go to faces. This one I know will be XXX01 test. And from the face folder, copy all of these files into your face folder in the export. And if you recall from the, I don't want to reload that. But if you recall from the, no, I do want to reload that. I'm a bit confused at the moment. This is how it's supposed to go. Copy these in here. I do want to reload that. There we go. Face underscore diff.bin. If you recall from the heads tutorial, this is a list of the files, the model related files that are going to be loaded for the face in this case. This one only loads the face diff.bin. That's because without the face diff, PES will crash. Apart from that, there's no models here, which means that the PES head is not going to have any models. It's only going to have this, which again controls the eyes and the mouth, and those are going to be way underground. Anyway, with that, we're ready to compile. And I need to go into the editor and find my player, do toggle FPC settings, and then set the boots to 9998, so our boots ID, and set the globs to 12 because that's invisible hands. I'm going to save that and then go to PES and see how our model turned out. Once again, I prefer testing in edit mode because you can see a wide range of motions and so on in a controlled environment. So you can see just how bad your white painting is. that's surprisingly good. And that's, to me, the benefit of keeping the weights of the original model. Like, there's room for improvement. Stuff like, again, you can't see my cursor, but the weird cape thing being painted completely the chest means that the arms are going to be clipping through it. That could be improved a lot with manual weight painting. Same goes for the like extension towards the legs, the hips, so on. Also, the transition from the hips to the thighs is not ideal. But point being, that's one way to give your model a very good base level of weight painting without really having to do any weight painting yourself. Just to show that, first of all, I think the sleeves are wrong. Yeah, they were. Anyway, the just to show, if you want to make the arms a little bit shorter, you can go here and drop the arm length to -5. You can drop the arm size to -5, and it looks a bit more normal. You can also do stuff with the shoulders. Just basically get more feminine proportions for your model. But that's part one. That's how to, if your model has a skeleton. So now I am unfortunately going to have to go here and press Ctrl-N and reload startup file. Re-import the source model. I am going to do the starting steps again, but this is not going to matter. Because these are going to be the same between the... these steps are going to be the exact same between the two separate posing methods. I'm just going to map these to the existing body.dds. Didn't want to join to the ball. I'm going to hide that. That's more like it. And then, there goes the skeleton. I'm going to clear parent as well. And hide that and delete everything else. So, manual posing. I'm going to import the medical staff here again from shaded. Scale our model down to about match it. And then, scaling, positioning, all look alright. Time to manually bend an anime model into shape. So again, I'm going to start with the arms. I'm going to take a nice little general look of where they are. And then I'm going to work based off of that. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remove doubles. This makes working with the model much more easy, much easier. Because I can, for example, just select this thing and get it out of the way. I'm going to select a nice little loop over here. And then select the rest of the arm. Unhide the medical staff. And then in edit mode, I'm just going to rotate along the y-axis and then grab. And this is what manual posing is. You rotate along the y or the x or the z axis, and then you grab the bit you rotated to repair the damage you've done. Like this rotation, you repair that by dragging, and that will slowly but surely bend your model into shape. Control minus, and as in control and then the minus on the numpad will decrease your selection. I also need to be mindful of the fact that I need to stretch the arms so that the wrist comes up over here, which is going to be unfortunate. So what I'm basically doing is I'm just looking for spots that would be easy to get a nice clean like ring selected, and that would be an easy way to adjust the like shape and position of the model. So for example here, I'm going to need to rotate by the x-axis and then grab. Rotate y-axis, not that much. Grab. X-axis, grab. Drag a little bit. Gonna have to drag out the upper portion of the arm as well. Now, one of the benefits of this method, especially if you're thinking about in terms of having to adjust the length of the arms, is this does not scale the arms up. Like the arms are not going to be getting fatter. They're just going to be getting stretchier, which means one less adjustment, one less physique adjustment to do in PES. I'm pretty happy with that one. Like it's good that the arms were already in such an agreeable shape, so that all I really needed to do was stretch them out. I'm going to try and do the same here. So I'm going to hide this PES skeleton as well, it gets in the way. Start with this. Find a nice little loop up here. Then just select the rest of the arm below that loop. Make sure that everything's selected. That one was not. And then rotate a little bit. And grab a little bit. Can't grab too much on the shoulder. You'll that'll be quick to ruin the model. I think this might end up being a decent spot. And then need to stretch out the upper arm as well. All right, this one is going to end up with a ridiculously long upper arm, but that's fine. So hide the medical staff, hide the skeleton, and observe the damage. The upper arms are quite long, but again, that is something that can be adjusted in PES. So moving on to the legs, and once again, the legs are the fun part, where all you need to do is you need to find a nice little loop somewhere around this height in the thighs. I am gonna, well, I can't get rid of that. Those are flaps of fabric, so gonna have to try my best to see. That's a bit interesting. It has a lot of curve. So I should include these in the selection, I think. Yes. And then I should not include these. Or if I do, I should move up at some point. Yeah, just not going to include these at all. A bit of an interesting shape. I'm just gonna go somewhere up here. I'm gonna call that good. And once I've gotten a ring selected, I can hide that and then just select everything underneath. And Control L, and I'll have the entire leg. Usually, legs are more fun than this. Usually they will have a very defined spot where to form the ring. You need to rotate on X a little bit as well. You do want the thigh to remain somewhat where the S thigh is. And then see if it did. Yeah, it did quite a bit of damage. So rotate by X again to and Y again to undo any damage that was done. And it's still good enough. I'm going to move on to the other leg. Try and find a cleaner loop this time. I think I'm headed for the same problem here. Just not being able to identify the cleanest possible loop. I'm just going to call that good. Worked out fine for the other leg. Rotate Y and get it into position. And then also rotate X to make sure the thigh is still in the right spot. And then again, any kind of damage you can see, just fix it with rotations. And I believe we're good. So I'm happy with the position, scaling, and posing of the model now. That's basically how you manually pose. You just select the entire limb up to a point, and then you rotate, usually along the y-axis, and then you just drag it around to fix any of the damage that was done by the rotation. Do it enough times, and your limb will start slowly but surely bending into the shape of the medical staff. Now, I did showcase my preferred method, honestly, of doing weights, because this model did have a skeleton before I deleted it, where I just renamed all of these to match the PES groups. I'm not going to do that here, because chances are if you don't have a skeleton, you're not going to have vertex groups, so we can't use those. That would be cheating. What we're going to do instead, we're going to select the medical staff, then expand our selection to our model, go to weight paint, and transfer weights, and source by name. Back to object mode, and I'm going to hide the medical staff and the skeleton. And if we look at our model in weight paint mode, we can see that it's got weights. Now, again, female model compared to a PES male medical staff, there's going to be problems. It's not going to be a one-to-one transfer. So, for example, if I go to head, you can see that it's more neck than head. So what I'm immediately going to do, I'm going to select all of the parts of the head, I believe are head, and assign them to sk_head. I'm going to hide all of that then, and also select the rest of the head that is part of the body, rather than the head and the hair. So I'm going to hide another ring of faces over there, so I can just Control L to link select, and assign to sk head, rather. Did I assign the other one to the neck? I did. Okay, I'm going to undo to the point where I will assign this to head rather than neck. And then I'm going to redo this part where I, again, just isolate the part I really want to select, and then select one face and just Control L to select all of the linked ones. And this time, both of them to head, and normalize all. So that's one part. I also want to select all of this and remove sk head, so that this bit does not turn with the head. Weight transferring is going to be, again, depending on how well you pose your model and how well the shape of your model matches the PES medical staff, it could be the easiest thing in the world, but most of the time it's going to be like this, where you get a nice little base that you can then expand on, but you will need to fix a lot of stuff, like the head. The head is never going to be correct because the medical staff does not have a head. The arms/hands are another thing that's always a bit wrong. If I go all the way down here, I believe that's going to be on the forearm, which is what we don't want. I'm going to select the entirety of the hand, and assign that fully to the hand. Do the same for the other one. Make sure I got all of it. Yeah, I did. And then make sure that the legs look fine. They do. With all of these extra accessories, like this weird cape and all of this here, the movement, I can already tell the movement's not going to be perfect. There's going to be a lot of tweaking required for this. But I want to see this model in PES, so that I can better see what's wrong and what needs to be improved. So once again, I'm going to start the exporting process. This time, I'm just going to go here and delete all of the groups. Join after deleting the materials, almost forgot, join into our medical stuff, change our shader to be constant, and I'm quickly going to outline this model as well. These need to be deleted for the optimal outline. I'm not going to bother with that right now. I've done it already once in this tutorial, so I'm going to leave them. Set the outline material to be a blin, and then export our boots over here. Going to take a minute again. And this time, because I do want to keep a copy of this one as well, just in case, I am going to call this 9997 test. Replace the boots in there, have a compile, and change our boots ID over here to 9997. And again, if I had to guess, and if you did watch the previous part and didn't skip right onto the null skeleton, I'm willing to bet that this model is not going to move as smoothly as the one from the first part of the tutorial. Because, as I said, the medical staff was made to be a default male human for PES, which doesn't really translate all that well for female proportions. It's going to be, again, a good base setup that you can then expand on and fix up. But let's see. I could still be talking out of my arse here. Yeah, as you can see, it's not as ideal. Like, I'm surprised by how well the cape worked. Like, it moves really well with the arms. Don't know what to call that, but like near the legs you can see the movement. That is weird. That's not how that works. But this moves surprisingly well. Like, there's a lot to fix with the thighs. They shouldn't work like that. But for the most part, that was very successful. Like, again, here, at the front of the cape, you can see a lot of stretching, which it's going to take a lot of precision white painting to fix that. But again, this is a fantastic base setup for improving your model. Like, there's work to be done on the thighs and the cape and so on, but at least it works. It works really well. But anyway, that was actually faster than I expected, knocking out 2 of them. Hopefully this was helpful. There were a couple of things I realized during the recording of this one, so there might be a new one, but I am putting this one up for the time being. So again, hopefully it was helpful, and good luck.